I feel like this is a relatable for a lot of men, and I know I'm gonna get comments being like, oh, it was obviously a skit, he's making a joke, whatever. This is way too common. And the problem is, a lot of men know that they can't bring up, hey, I don't think this is a good idea. Hey, I don't think you can reasonably do that. Otherwise, she'll accuse him of not being a supportive and good husband overall. And we all know for a lot of men, they'll actually talk to their wife before making any type of financial decision because they realize it's something that needs to be discussed. Even if he's the breadwinner and she stays at home, usually he'll still bring this up like, hey, I want to replace this, I want to buy this, I want to go on this trip, whatever it is. But men often don't have that same luxury. And a mortgage and all of the bills is a joint thing. Also, I have a feeling that when you guys bought that house, you probably agreed on it, right? Together? Okay, so why do you get to make this decision by yourself? And does he get a chance to find himself later? Like, he gets to quit his job and you have to work extra? No? Because I rarely see that in relationships. Most of the time, the man just, he knows deep down he has to just keep paying the bills, that they're not going to get covered by the woman. And if she wants to find herself, work on her mental health, whatever it is, there's tons of leeway for her, but there isn't always leeway for him. I know of some relationships where the man works a brutal job that he hates with a passion, and he's stuck working there because, again, the bills got to get paid. And she'll sit there and jump between minimum wage jobs, not even paying any of her share. She's also not willing to do the domestic duties at home, like cooking and cleaning. It's like, Are you kidding me? How selfish can you get? Also, I've noticed if men have any qualms against what she's doing. Oh, so you don't love me. You don't believe in me. You don't think I can pull this off. Sometimes it's just, I mean, a candle business specifically, there are so many competitors out there. There's so many people making homemade soaps, homemade candles, and I'm not saying you can't be successful doing that, but you got to really be able to set yourself apart from everybody else doing it. And I would argue that you're probably better off buying an established business and that is candle related if you really want the candles and starting there instead. Because your realistic chances of growing from scratch are fairly low. Like, most businesses end up failing. Again, why that conversation needs to be had. And, maybe you need to lay out a business plan, have all the research done, know exactly what niche you're going into, what kind of scents, how the cost, the price, the packaging. There's so many variables with starting a business that most people do not realize. And obviously, like, even if she didn't make income and he paid all the bills to begin with, that is still a potential cost. That stuff adds up quick. Like, just the labels on, like, maybe a sugar scrub or a candle, that could add up to a few $100s right off the bat for a small batch just to get you going. And then sometimes businesses require trial and error. So you might have one scented candle. Well, what if most people don't like that scent? So you might need 3 other scents right off the bat to see what the market is okay with, what the market likes. It's a lot. And it's expensive quick. I've ran a few businesses throughout my lifetime. So I have kind of my hand in that. I understand the cost. I almost started a salt scrub business a few years ago, and I was really looking into the cost. I actually made a good recipe and I made the product itself, and it was really good. I enjoyed using it. But then I started realizing the overall cost, the marketing and all that, and I'm like, this might not be a good thing. And I discussed that with my husband beforehand, and I covered all of the costs for that. But again, that was like one of those things where it's like, okay, this sounds great in theory, but when you actually start taking action on it, it may not be the best thing to do. And sometimes you can even get companies to ship you their finished products and private label, I think it's called, and then you can then sell it, because you have to have a lot of skills to run a business. And a lot of women just aspire to these things. They jump in head first without actually learning about these things. Also, these types of decisions can destroy your relationship long term. Yeah, you may be successful and everything works out fine. But if it doesn't, which the odds are stacked against you realistically in this specific situation, and this is not about him not believing in you, but it can create resentment, because if he has to work extra hours, that gets exhausting. That's why I'm a firm believer that you should look at what your partner's contributing and make sure that you're equal within reason. Obviously, it's not going to be perfectly equal all the time, but you should be pulling weight. And decisions like this can make him feel used or a walking wallet, so you're objectifying him. And realistically, would you do this to somebody else? Would you do this to your best friend? Would you do this to your parents? Probably not. Why are you doing it to him? And if you really have your heart set on this and you want to pursue it, that's why you have the conversation with him first. You look into all the requirements, because if you're selling candles, like anything like that can potentially cause harm to people if you mess up the recipe or the ingredients. You might need an LLC. You might need insurance. Depending on your state, you may need a business license. This stuff adds up quick, and there's cost to every single step. Also, you should keep your job while doing the business. And yeah, it's exhausting, but I've noticed that's how you hold yourself accountable. I've noticed a weird correlation. Everyone I've seen personally that I know that has started a business while working their other job, they're more likely to be successful than the people who just quit their job and then they try this business. Because for a lot of people, it takes a lot more self-discipline than they realize when you're your own boss. You don't have anyone to come yell at you when you screw up. For a lot of people, what ends up happening is they're really motivated for a few months, they do great, and then they start to get lazy, they start to watch TV, they start to do this, and then they're just at home hanging out. They're not actually doing the work. So that's why you start selling on weekends. Come up with the recipe, figure that out first, discuss it with him, start with small inventory, see if there's demand, learn how to pitch your sales, learn how to create ads, learn how to ship things. Agree on what's going to happen if it fails. Decide how long the business gets to become profitable before you let it go. All these things need to happen with your partner's consent, with it being a discussion, and if they're okay with it, cool. But men should not be put on the hook for these types of things. I know most of this video was less about relationships and more about actual business, but I'm kind of diversified in some things. But doing stuff like this can cause your house to go into foreclosure, which is very expensive, by the way, and could destroy your relationship. So you want to lose everything because you wanted to make a candle? Like, come on.